Most people will tell you that private label is the only way to win in 2026. That's wrong. I've seen sellers lose thousands of dollars by jumping into things without knowing too much about it. But I've also seen sellers stay stuck selling wholesale and arbitrage far longer than they should. Now, the real answer isn't private label versus wholesale, it's what you fall under and what's best for you. And that's what I'm going to go through in this video. My name is Adam and I run two successful e-commerce businesses doing over $3.3 million a year collectively using the Amazon and TikTok shop platform. And if you don't believe me, here is one of my stores right now on the Amazon platform, which is doing 2.8 million in the past 12 months. And it's been a ride. I've been doing this for 5.5 years now. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what strategy is going to be best for you and why most sellers get this decision wrong. Now, to put this into reality before we go any further, my business does around $270,000 per month. I'm talking about multiple marketplaces through private label. I'm talking through multiple SKUs, multiple brands, and a model which didn't fall apart due to competition. I've just shown you the proof, not just to flex, just to show you my credibility, and I'm super proud of it. So let's get into the video. This video is not a private label fixes everything video. In fact, most people that try private label fail. Not because private label doesn't work, but because a lot of people don't understand the changes between both of the models. So let's break it down properly. The first one is scaling. And we'll start there because that's where most sellers hit the ceiling. Wholesale scales by addition. New products, new suppliers, new prices. Every time you add something, you add more risk. New competitors, unstable pricing, unstable supplier relationships, and even more capital tied up just to stay at that level. You can scale wholesale revenue, but it is very fragile. One supplier issue or one aggressive seller can literally wipe out and ruin months of work. Private label, on the other hand, scales by concentration. Instead of trying to constantly add new products to survive, you're focusing on your current one, how you can optimize it, how you can improve it, how you can make the listing better. You're scaling what already works, and when you do want to launch new things, you're launching new variations, complementary products, things that work well with the product, bundles, these types of things. And only then you start to think about moving on to a different product or a different brand. Here you have fewer SKUs, but significantly more depth. Now here's the part that most people don't expect is that private label is slower than wholesale, but only slower at the beginning, might I say. But once private label works, it compounds. It's like the, the compound interest graph, you know? It's gonna be extremely slow to begin with, and then you find something that works, bang, oh, it's going up. And then you double down on it, you make it better, you make complementary products, boom, scaled it. Margin is amazing. That difference alone explains why a lot of sellers plateau. Number two, let's talk about the profit margins, because this is where most comparisons miss the point. Wholesale margins are usually thin. You know, I've been there, done that. I've been buying from wholesalers, and I've also been buying from manufacturers and brands directly, and I still do to this day. However, I know it for a fact, you know, you're working on what, like 12% margin gross or 15% at the absolute highest probably. A product can literally go from 12% margin all the way down to literally zero just because one stupid seller comes down and slashes the price. Or maybe not just one seller, but one huge, massive company can actually afford to do that, slashes the price 10% down, just to wipe you out and all of the other competition so they can make all of the sales at 5% margin. It happens all of the time, and I've actually done it to people. When you've got money, when you've got cash, you can do that. But at the end of the day, you don't really have any control of it. You can focus on the supply relationships and negotiate pricing, but what comes with that? Cash, you do need a lot of cash, right? Cash speaks words. Now, conversely, private label doesn't automatically give you better margins. However, the opportunity for better margins is insane. Right? What it does do is it gives you the ability to choose whether you want to operate on a high margin or a lower margin, because I'll be honest, there's some products within my business, some brands, whole brands within my business, which actually operate on around a 15% profit margin, which isn't crazy for private label, but it's okay. You know, the cool thing is, the great thing is about that is that I own the product, I own the brand. Fantastic. I can have other people, competition come in, but they've got to differentiate themselves significantly from myself. They've got to have the infrastructure that I have, for example. But conversely, there are some products which I have which are like 35, 36, 37% margin. There's some products which I buy for under £1 and sell for £9.99. Which is absolutely nuts. The beauty of it is you control the pricing. If you find a product opportunity you think is good and there's market fit for it and there's room for improvement, but it only makes 15% margin, you can decide whether you go ahead with that or not. If it makes 50% margin, you're definitely going to go ahead with it, right? You 100%. But ultimately you get that flexibility, you get that option. But not only that, how much it's making, you become the owner of it. Even just a 15% controlled margin is better than a 10% or even just a 15% uncontrolled margin with wholesale or arbitrage. Let's get on to the third point which I wanted to speak about. This is the part which actually decides the answer, I think. Wholesale depends heavily on Amazon and suppliers, both of which you don't control. You can make money, but you're not building an asset. If you stop sourcing, you stop getting products in. If you stop building, your business stops. It plateaus. Nothing happens. If anything, it either stays there or it goes down. Obviously, unless you have staff members doing it on your behalf. But again, with those low margins, it becomes significantly harder to scale with staff. You can make quick cash, yes, but you're not building an asset. Private label is about building an asset inside Amazon first, but not just Amazon, spreading that across all different marketplaces like Shopify, like TikTok Shop, like eBay, like Temu. You own the listings, the brand, the product, the intellectual property, all of that. This gives you options for things like brand registry, repeat subscription customers. Getting all of this stuff all of a sudden makes your business become worth something. I know right now, to this day, I can get upwards of $1 million in cash if I sold my business right now. And that's me being conservative. So I can get that in cash right now just from transitioning from wholesale to private label. This is why private label matters way more than it did right now in 2026. Every single year, competition's getting higher, fees are getting higher, and ads are becoming more expensive. When the environment gets harder, control matters more than speed. Wholesale rewards speed, but private label rewards structure. Let me show you this transition that actually happened in the real world. Hassan was running things wholesale for the longest time, but his results were volatile. Sales were up and down, profit margins were certainly up and down. He was constantly looking for new suppliers, new products and things like this, and he basically just had no control at all over his business. The only thing that he had control of was his inputs. And he is a damn hard worker and his inputs were great. So his business was growing, but it was so tough and so slow. By shifting his strategy to a strategy which focuses more on ownership and relationships, he managed to add an extra £2,000 per month to his business. That didn't just increase profit, that stabilized his business. And the key thing is, when sellers start to experience a better margin, more stability, more control, it becomes addictive. And it just becomes that next logical step to double or triple down on. So let me know down below in the comments, which one are you gonna choose? Because here's the honest answer. Wholesale makes sense if you're just needing some short-term cash flow, or you want to get out your 9 to 5 potentially. It's not useless at all, and the same goes with arbitrage as well. However, there is a little bit more skill involved with wholesale, and it's a little bit more consistent in my opinion. But if your goal is to make it past that 10 to 30k per month mark consistently as well, and build better margins and create something of long-term value, maybe even travel around the world, which is what I'm doing right now, then private label is actually the stronger model for you to do in 2026. The only one caveat to that is it does require more capital to start. And it's not easier, might I say, but it does give you leverage and it gives you more results. The harder something ever is anyway, the better results it always gives you anyways. So if you want to learn the exact systems that I use to scale my Amazon business from 5.5 years ago working in Sainsbury's bakery all the way to now moving around the world, living in Dubai, Bali, Thailand, all these types of places, all through the private label strategy for making my business more sustainable and higher profit, then check the link down below in the description. It's the same process I teach Amazon sellers already who understand Amazon and actually want to build something that they own and can sell. So here's the real takeaway. Wholesale helps you participate in Amazon, but private label helps you build on Amazon, but not just on Amazon, across everywhere. One relies on access and the other one relies on ownership. If your goal is short-term cash flow, wholesale can work. If your goal is sustainable growth, making a ton of money and building a real business, then private label's for you. And once you understand that difference, it becomes obvious what you need to do. That's it from me. Peace.